Hey model railroaders, and welcome to the Bonanza Valley and Western and my December 2023 layout update. A lot has been happening in the last couple weeks, really since Thanksgiving, and I'm excited to share with you a couple projects I've been working on. Namely, as I mentioned in my last video introduction of the Bonanza Valley and Western, I've completed a complete overhaul of my backdrop. Now, I chose to work with Lark Products, a gentleman by the name of Bill Brown, and he created for me a 26-foot long continuous background. As you saw previously, I struggled a little bit with working with product that was over the market, cutting it out, adhering it to a backdrop that I had painted sky on. I wasn't happy with the seams. I wasn't happy with the sort of lack of continuity between the scenes. And I had purchased a background, an ethanol plant background from Bill. Really liked the product. I opted to use his vinyl product and was very satisfied with it. And as I looked through his selection of stock backdrops online, I realized he had a number of rural scenes. So I reached out to him via email, asked him if he'd be able to combine some of those scenes together. And quite frankly, I didn't realize he would be able to create an entire 26-foot by 2-foot tall backdrop for me, but that's exactly what he asked if I wanted to do. I said yes. And again, I chose his vinyl background product for durability and the ability to wipe it off, clean it if I needed. Now, there were some challenges with working with that long a product. First of all, it's very, very long, and any inconsistencies of my backdrop, it's not going directly to a wall, but it's going to a 2-foot tall masonite product that I've put up along the back of the layout. The masonite is 2 feet by 8-foot long strips. Then I had to deal with the seams of adhering those together. And they're just going to be honest, there's a few anomalies in my backdrop product as it is, in the background as I built it. So I don't claim to be some expert carpenter. And so I knew when I was hanging the product that there was probably going to be a few challenges. The other side of it too is that I don't know that this is going to be the permanent location of this layout. So I didn't want to fully adhere, as recommended, the product to the masonite backboard. So I opted just to put double-sided tape. I used a Gorilla product. I don't think I have any examples of it laying around anymore, but that's what Bill recommended, to use a double-sided tape with the vinyl product itself. Some of his other products have self-adhesive backing, but the vinyl is not one that comes with that option. So I adhered this backdrop to the masonite with a single edge of double-sided tape along the top edge, and then on the outer edges, and on a few locations at the bottom where the backdrop meets the layout, I put in a few spots as well. Again, my goal being not to fully adhere the backdrop to the masonite product. In the event that I do move this layout, I want to minimize the damage to the product with over adhesion and etc. So consequently, there's a few spots where there is some bubbling effect. It's a choice I can live with. I'm okay with the choice. Obviously, it's my railroad. Little things like that I know can bother people. Probably bothers me too, if I'm being honest. But under the circumstances, I opted to just, again, adhere it that way, not get crazy with the adhesion, and just opted to go that route. So real quick, I'm going to show you, I'll show you the up close, the full effect of the backdrop as it goes around the layout. Again, I've got 16 feet on this one wall right here, and another roughly 10 feet or so behind me on this secondary wall. In the future, there will be some probably layout along a third wall, but I'm kind of slowing the pace a little bit and just taking it in, deciding my next steps. The second part of this layout update, I will show you, I've been laying down, securing the foam road bed to the layout surface. I have not secured any of the track yet. I'm utilizing Pico Code 70, which is a newer product out on the market. I wanted to control the switches mostly manually. In fact, I think as the layout's designed so far, they will all be manual, lever controlled on the edge of the layout in the future. In the meantime, I throw those switches just by finger, and I wanted them to fully lock in place and not give me any problems. But I have not secured the track down as I work through sort of operationally and design kind of what I'm doing. So I'm going to step behind the camera and I'll give you a quick tour for December 2023 of where the layout is at currently. So I'm going to start back where I did my introductory video on the backdrop on this signature scene of the wind turbines. And like I explained on the last video, I have chosen to go with sort of the modern era. I get away with running some older equipment because the Bonanza Valley and Western is a modern short line servicing prototype towns in Minnesota, but kind of a fictional, some fiction combined in with it. So the backdrop again, you'll see a few occasional areas where there's a little bit of bubbling effect going on. Now, recently I've been looking at some other guys' video on installing backdrops, and even if I were to have adhered this 100% to the Masonite, and from past experience, I don't know that I would have 100% avoided some of that, a little bubbling here and there. So with my criteria and what's going, what I'm doing ultimately with this layout and a little bit of uncertainty, I'm okay with a little bit of that. Once I get into operating trains, I hardly even notice it. So, but those are the compromises, right? Those are the little things as model railroaders we make decisions on, and then ultimately have to decide what's important to us. So that's a quick overview of the Lark Products backdrop. And again, very, very, very happy with this product and working with Bill Brown. And I'm not endorsed by Bill, and the only communications I've ever had with him was via the telephone. So secondarily, I want to show what I've been working on the track. Ultimately, the expansion, I think I shared in my introduction video, will come along this wall. But for right now, ties off at the end here. This probably won't be the permanent location of this, of the Bonanza Valley and Western second class Sioux Line Depot headquarters and my tribute to the Ray and Renee Grosser. But for right now, I think it looks great up against the backdrop and gives me some opportunities to take some photos. Please forgive my all the bits and bobs and things that I'm doing as I've been testing trains. I don't have the transition between roadbed and onto flat surface area all squared away yet. So I've been kind of shimming areas where I've been running trains just to make sure that they don't tip over as they transition from the roadbed down to the flat landscape. Here's kind of an angle of how this particular section goes. I've chosen not to put a lot of track in this area. I've really am forcing myself to reduce the amount of industries. Right now, like these grain elevators, for example, I know I want to have, because I'm modeling the modern era, I want to have some older industry that represents the past that is unserved. I don't anticipate that these grain elevators will stay here. These are just props for the time being as I work through this area, the layout, and how I want it to transition and kind of reflect that there is some old rail-served industries that are no longer rail-served. But the focus will truly be on this section right here, where the switch will lead into a modern cold storage, possibly in combination with a frozen foods area, frozen foods industry. The pink foam represents the footprint, roughly the footprint of a Wathers cold storage building or industry that I'm going to hopefully procure sometime this winter and build. The rest of this, and again, people will look at this and say, well, geez, that's a lot of wasted space for a model railroad. But I really want the track to scenery ratio and the fact that this is a rural Granger style layout, modern. I'm trying to just really demonstrate, again, some spots on here where, again, I'll have the cold storage facility, possible Minnesota Department of Transportation facility for their equipment, kind of just really make the scene more about a limited amount of track and more about capturing just the feel of communities that are expanding, rural communities that are expanding with some modern industry in them. The other industry that's serviced on this portion of the layout will be this long track that leads up to what will be Swanson Fertilizer. I may use this building. I love this building. It comes out of a Wathers cement plant kit. And I just really, really like it. It looks like it could serve as a warehouse for potash, kind of old school. But I will service Swanson Fertilizer. That's a nod of the hat to a classmate whose father ran Swanson Fertilizer in Bruton, Minnesota when I was growing up, an industry that's long gone. But fertilizer is an important modern commodity. And again, the two industries that are really serviced right over here are going to be the cold storage and the fertilizer plant. The junction leads to the staging in my shop. And as I explained in the past, again, ethanol plant really represented by the backdrop photo. Not something I would have wanted to attempt in 3D form in a kit or even scratch building. Just too imposing of an industry. And really all I'm after is just looking at how modern industry impacts the rural areas now and service it with hopper cars and tank cars for the ethanol. Not certain that these silos will stay here. Still working through the layout of where I want industry. There'll be some some propane tanks, that type of thing, to accent the scene. Soybean crops, corn on the backdrop, as well as some physical corn in grain elevators. My Damon's Prairie state natural area that I showed you before with my brother and his dog hunting. I intend to have, if you've ever driven through rural areas and seen these larger wind turbine projects, they usually have a facility for the crews that service. Locally here, there's a company called Black Oak Energy. They have wind turbines. They're kind of located near Sauk Center, Minnesota. And they do have a little, it's a shed basically, with some barbed wire fencing around the facility for equipment, for maintenance, etc. I probably will represent something like that as well. Again, non-railroad related industry, but that will occupy this space. Again, big goal for me is to not overdo it on the amount of industries. In fact, right now, besides the ethanol, and besides the fertilizer and the cold storage plant, I really have no other energy industries. But I found even in just my test switching that grants me a good solid hour of switching fun as I do the runaround moves and work out through some of my constraints on switching. In front of the depot over there was a switch, and really I can only handle maybe 2 locomotives and 1 car, or 2 car loads with 1 locomotive beyond that switch until I create the expansion. So I'm kind of limited, but again, it adds to the fun of a switching layout such as this. And I'm really attempting to keep sort of a high scenery to rural to industry ratio, so it's not overdone with a lot of unrealistic switching opportunities. I've seen flat cars with wind turbine blades delivered to holding areas. So that might be a fun future project, to do a few flat cars with turbine blades on them that would deliver to this site. I would represent that with large cranes that would offload the blades for construction projects, but time will tell. We'll see. So that's the update on the backdrop and the track plan and all the foam road bed that I've laid down that is permanently fixed now. And I'm currently working through, again, running some trains, getting a feel for what the operations look like. And got to tell you, I'm really excited. This has been a fun project so far. I've gotten a lot of opportunity to invest some time into it after work, and I'm going to continue to do so over the winter, and I will keep updating